In order to understand the meanings of today's readings, I would like to give you a couple of examples, and I'll explain what's going on. When I was a newly ordained priest, as a newly ordained priest, on one level I was very confident in myself, but at the same time I was very uncomfortable with myself. Being a new priest, I was constantly thinking at the time, what will people think of me? Will people like me? Will people not like me? Am I doing my job as I'm supposed to? Is there something I'm missing? Just like anybody who's starting something new. There is hesitation, and you want everybody to think well of you and the like. And I remember, doing a homily and greeting everybody at the end of Mass. And, people would come, Father, that was a great homily. Father, that was a good homily. Father, that was wonderful. Thank you. You gave me something to think about. And there was one person, I didn't really like that homily today. That's what I heard. 50 people were telling me that, I did a good job. I didn't hear them. I heard the one person that didn't like my homily. And when, we hear things in life, sometimes we focus more on the negative than on the positive. I always joke, what's the difference between an optimist and a pessimist? An optimist gets up in the morning, opens the curtains, looks out at the sunshine. Good morning, God. A pessimist gets up in the morning, opens the curtains, sees the sunlight. Good God, it's morning. When we look at the scriptures, how many of us focused entirely on the blessed are those who are meek, blessed are those who suffer? How many of us were focusing on woe to you, woe to them? And that's not really what the readings are about. The readings today are about hope. The readings today are about salvation and not condemnation. In this sense, somebody had a house burned down. And the news crews are there at the scene. They're filming the house going up in flames. And they interview the family. Boy, it must be a tragic loss that you lost, your home. It must be a tragic loss that you lost all your belongings. And what do they say? I'm glad to be out alive. I'm glad my family's here. Material things can be replaced. Lives can't. When we look at life, do we look at life as an optimist or as a pessimist? Do we see the good things in life? Do we see the bad things in life? Why did God today in the Gospels, why did Jeremiah use the word woe then? Woe to you. Was it a condemnation? Was it a finger pointing? Sometimes that's what we think when we read those things. We read the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not. But if we look at it from the positive side, we would see that, woe to you who rely on hunger now or whatever. What happens when we base our lives without God, What happens when we base our lives on material things? What happens when they're taken away? If we base our lives on material things, the person with the fire would have been devastated. But if we base our lives on God's presence, then whatever happens, presence of God still is there. We may not even realize that we're living in faith until it's almost too late, for example. I was at Boy Scout camp one year, and the father and his son were there. And the father said, Pat, because I was a seminarian at the time, Pat, I don't know what's coming to my son. He doesn't know the faith. I ask him questions. He doesn't know how to answer. And later on, I was talking with the son. And the father was right. Technically, he didn't know the answers. But he knew the faith because he lived it. This homily is basically one of those to help you remember the positive things in your life. Count your blessings. And it's not counting your blessings from a negative point of view. Oh, I don't have these things, but I have this. I don't have this, but I have this instead. It's just to look at it from the optimistic point of life and to discover what's there already. Not because it's lacking in other areas, but what is there. And if we recognize what is there, we can focus then on the Beatitudes and what they truly are trying to say. We can focus on what religion is, truly hearing what it's trying to say. I'm not poo-pooing that we need to look at sin. I'm not poo-pooing that we need to ignore suffering. I'm just, asking, put it in perspective. In closing, I'd like to share with you a poem that was found on the battlefield in Gettysburg during the Civil War. After all that devastation, a glimmer of hope rose. They were clearing out the bodies, and on an unknown Confederate soldier, they found this prayer. I asked God for strength that I might achieve. I was made weak that I might learn humbly to obey. I asked God for health that I might do greater things. I was given infirmity that I might do better things. I asked for riches that I might be happy. I was given poverty so that I might be wise. I asked for power that I might have the praise of men. I was given weakness that I might feel the need for God. I asked for all things that I might enjoy life. I was given life that I might enjoy all things. I got nothing that I asked for, but everything I had hoped for. Almost despite myself, my unspoken prayers were answered. I am among men most richly blessed. Count your blessings, not from the negative side, but from the positive. And once you've counted those blessings, like Jesus, spread the love. Spread the faith. Give the gift of life to those around you.